أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. We started our main discussion of this series in the previous discussion. We started discussing the collaboration between the Shias and Sunnis in Islamic history. What we intend to do today is to be discussing the collaboration in the first 3 centuries, and inshallah in the next discussion we will inshallah complete the next the other centuries to come. So before I get to the slides, we have already discussed one issue in the previous discussion, which I believe is a very good issue if it can be sorted. That's a very good issue to be able to indicate that there was collaboration in history. And that's the whole issue of the Pledge of Allegiance or the Bay'ah. Okay, so within the Sunni scholars, as we mentioned in the previous discussion, Sunni scholars all believe that the Imam alayhi salam, Imam Ali at least gave Bay'ah to the first caliph and the other caliphs also possible. And within the Shias, we say there are 3 opinions. So if we take the third opinion, where the likes of Ayatollah Makarim and Ayatollah Sa'id Hakim Tabatabai and them come in, if we believe and we accept their opinion, then they also accept that the Imam gave Bay'ah somehow even willingly, because Imam was in between 2 choices, where one side there was his leadership and on the other side was the whole issue of the Ummah and Islam. So when he saw that Islam was in danger, that there was a threat of disunity and all whatnot, this is where he decided to sacrifice his own leadership and give bay'ah to the caliphs and work in the Muslim ummah. Okay, so as I said, that requires more research and very much so without the presumptions and the biases. That's area number 1. Area number 2, which I'm not bringing in the slides, it's something very it's common knowledge also that Imam Ali alayhi salam allowed some of his companions to work in the government of the caliphs. Okay, so you have the likes of Ammar and Salman, if I'm not mistaken, Kumail and them, they were working in the government of the caliphs. Now, if it was not allowed, then they should have not worked. Okay, but to come and keep this Islamic ummah together, they sacrificed their personal issues and came and worked together. Okay, that's the second area of cooperation, which I don't want to get into. The third area which I want to get into is I'll start with the sermon from Nahj al-Balagha. As I said, we're discussing the collaboration in the first 3 centuries. Yeah, so I use the word of Imam Ali, the statement of Imam Ali alayhi salam, seeking forgiveness for the past. This is exactly his statement. Okay, this is sermon number 178 in Nahj al-Balagha. Imam is now assuming Khilafah and the Caliphate after the death of Uthman. Now, just imagine if a person is filled with so much in within, if God forbid there's a lot of hatred, then that hatred has to come out. Now, this is the time when you assume the leadership, when you get the Khilafah, this is the time now you need to speak out your heart altogether and say, these people were like this and these people were like that, and speak as much as you want, or even take revenge, God forbid also. Yeah. But look at what Imam alayhi salam does, and this is the area of collaboration. Okay, despite the disputes, and something we will see, we don't want to show that there were no disputes. Some of the, as I mentioned in the previous lecture, that some of the Sunni scholars want to show that no, everything was okay. No, that's not what history shows. Yeah, there were disputes, there were differences, but Imam alayhi salam overcame these differences and kept these differences aside for the sake of the greater ummah. Okay, so look at what Imam does. Okay, now one of the things you will notice, this is sermon number 178, and something which Imam does a lot of times is speak about the past, but in a summary. Okay, showing that he's not happy with what happened in the past, and then he shows that I was the one who is more deserving. This is something which is a common theme even in Nahj al-Balagha. So even in this statement, in this khutbah notice, he says that I fear you are in a state of ignorance. Events happened in the past which were not admirable, which I wasn't happy with. Okay, there were not good things which happened in the past. Now, some of the commentators like Ibn Abdul Hadid and all would take it to the time of the third caliph. Some would take it for the khair. We don't want to discuss that. What I'm saying is the Imam is talking about the past. But look at how, in a very summarized manner, okay, he doesn't want to delve into a lot of those details and all whatnot. Imam then goes further by saying that, but we can revert back to success. Okay, if we want, we can do it and we can go back to it. And I can even help you in that. That's what Imam is saying. Now, I'm interested in this statement. This statement has been translated by scholars in the 3 translations for it. And this shows you the background of the scholars, the kind of understanding each scholar is having. Yeah. So Imam says, وَلَوْ أَشَاءُ أَنْ أَقُولَ لَقُلْتُ. Okay. عَفَى اللَّهُ عَمَّا سَلَفَ. Now, The translator says also, if I so wish, I could also say, may God forgive the past. This is one understanding, which is somehow a common understanding within a lot of translators and some of the commentators. That they say that if I wish to say something, I would say, God forgive the past, but I'm not saying it. Okay, so this is one understanding, and this is one translation, which we will come to it again. But look at Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi's understanding, and shows you his understanding and how his thinking is also. Notice he says that ولو شاء ولو أشاء أن أقول لقلت. Okay, what does it mean? He says, if I wish to speak, I could speak. Now, the context of the sermon gives this understanding. And that's why I personally also am inclined towards this understanding, because the context is very clear. Imam is talking about the past, and then Imam is coming and making the statement that if I would have wished, I would have spoken. And I would have spoken about the undesirable events which happened in the past. That means things happened which I was not happy with. Okay? But look at Ayatollah Makarim. He says, but I refrain from it, and instead ask God not to punish you for these shortcomings and mistakes, okay, but rather to forgive you. Look at the understanding, okay? The first understanding was what? That if I wish, I would say that God would forgive the past, but I'm not saying it, okay? The second understanding is no, it's a dua for them. Okay, Imam is doing dua for them that yes, I'm not happy with the past, but I'm not going to delve into the past. I'm not going to speak the past, because the past is gone. We're forgetting the past. We are focusing on the present and the future now. So I'm even praying for you. Okay. Ayatollah Makarim goes on further. Look at what he says. He says that many commentators and translators have translated this statement as follows. He says, if I were to say something, I would say, may God forgive the past. That's exactly the first opinion. Yeah. But he says this interpretation is highly unlikely. Why? No, he gives two reasons, and the reasons are good enough to be able to convince a person. He says, number one is if you refer to the books of Sheikh Mufid, like Kitab al-Jamal and Kitab al-Manaqib, he is a complete version of this khutbah in the sermon. Okay, in where he includes the word lakin. In Nahj al-Balagha, there's no lakin. Okay, so walau asha'u an aqula laqult, and then there's a lakin, then afallahu amma salaf. In Nahj al-Balagha, there's lakin is not there, the but is not there. So he says one of those reasons, the reason I'm inclined towards this opinion is because in Sheikh Mufid's books, you will see this lakin. Okay, that means if I would have wished, I would have said it, but I'm not going to say the past. Rather, but I'm going to pray for you. Okay, and thus he says, therefore I assert, afallahu amma salaf is a prayer seeking God's forgiveness for them. You get me? Okay, look at the difference of translation altogether. And he says, rather, the connection between the phrase and the preceding sentences also support the meaning. And this is something you will see this, okay? Within the Shias and the Sunni scholars, even when we go to the Quran, sometimes the context is ignored in the Quran just because of our presumptions and our understandings. Yeah, our theological biases sometimes stop us from understanding the Quran in its own context. Yeah, this is the second meaning. Some scholars have gone to the third opposite meaning altogether. This is Allama Majlisi in his Bihar. He says, yuhtamal. Okay, it's possible to say that if Imam is praying for forgiveness, it doesn't imply forgiveness. Rather, he would say, but I do not say it. There's no room for forgiveness here. إِذْ لَا مَجَالَ لِلْعَفْوِ هُنَا. Totally opposite. Ayatollah Makarim says Imam is praying for forgiveness. Allama Majlisi says no. Imam cannot pray for their forgiveness. Rather, they don't deserve forgiveness altogether. Okay, that Imam should even pray for them, because it's not a place to pray for them. Can you see the different opinions? Okay, now, as I said, I'm inclined towards the second Ayatollah Makarim's opinion, and that's exactly what Imam was doing. That despite the differences and disputes, Imam leaves aside the differences and prays for them, prays for the Ummah to succeed. Okay, this is sermon number one. Example number two is sermon number 162 in Nahj al-Balagha. So a person comes, this is in between a battle with Muawiyah. Okay, Muawiyah now has launched a battle. He's killing the companions of the Imams. Okay, he's killed Malik Ashtar. He's killed Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Now is the time these people, this companion of the Imam was apparently a close relative also of the Imam. He comes and asks him about the caliphs. Okay, he asks him about the previous. He tells him that, well, you deserve the most. How come you didn't get the position you were deserving? Okay, this is the context of this sermon. So notice, Imam turns back to him and tells him, oh, brother of Banu Asad, okay, apparently a relative, you've lost yourself, okay, إِنَّكَ لَقَلَقْ. Okay, you seem to be not stable, and you're firing without an aim. It means I'm the wrong person to be aiming with this question of yours. Can you see how the Imam is looking at the Ummah? Okay, Then Imam goes on again, talks about the past. This is something, as I mentioned, it's something which you will see it as a theme in Nahjul Balagha. It talks about the past, that some things which happened in the past were not good. Yes, some people became greedy and took away the Khilafah. That's all. Khalas. What now further? Imam says Allah is the judge. We leave it on Allah now. Allah will judge between us. Okay. Then he goes on telling him. Okay. He gives him this statement of he recites. Imam recites this poem by Imr al-Qais. So Imr al-Qais uh, was a was a famous poet in the Jahiliyyah period. What happened was that so the story behind this poem is this, that he got his father was killed. Imr al-Qais, his father gets killed. So he somehow seeks refuge with one of the person by the name of Khalid in the tribe of Jadila. Yeah, in the tribe of Jadila. He seeks refuge there. So within he's staying with the host. Yeah. Now, if you notice that the whole system in Arabia was a tribal system. Yeah. People protect each other with the tribe. So if somebody is hosting you, then he's your protector basically. Similar to what happened with the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with Abu Talib alayhi salam. Okay, Abu Talib was the protector of the Prophet. As long as he was there, the protection was there. The day he goes, and the Prophet now has to migrate. Yeah. So similar to that, now the host Khalid hosts him. He has to keep. He has to give him the protection. But suddenly, what happens was Imrul Qais's camels and his property are stolen by the same tribe people. So Imr al-Qais now tells Khalid that what happens now? So Khalid tells Imr al-Qais that, okay, give me your extra camels and your she camel. I will mount on your camel and go with it to the tribe and tell them that you are my guest. Okay. And the proof for my guest is these camels, which I'm holding of yours. So he goes to the tribe people and tells them, Baba, he is my guest. Please return his camels. Okay, that's how it should be done. Now, instead of returning his camels, they steal even more. The one he had mounted and those other camels he had brought as a proof that Imr al-Qais is his guest. Now they steal that also. So Imr al-Qais there then makes this statement. Okay, he says, forget the looting of the past. Okay, those camels which were stolen in the past is something else. Talk about the recent camels which were stolen. He's asking Khalid. Okay, Imam alayhi salam is also giving the same statement. He's telling his companion that, forget the past. Past is gone. Let's focus on Muawiyah at the moment. Okay, and that's exactly what he says. Come and look at the son of Abu Sufyan. Call out the crime of Abu Sufyan. Not focus on the past. Okay, this is example number 2. Now, this is not me also understanding. This is Ayatollah Makarim also. He says, notice, leave the past with all its flows and effects. Imam is telling the companion, leave the past aside. Okay, leave the past, forget the past, and look at what's happening today. And this is my message to the Ummah today. Whoever is listening and whoever will listen, we are in a turmoil today. And the politicians are enjoying this, unfortunately, spending millions and billions in whatever they are doing. Okay, and rather they are enjoying with even our differences. What we need to do is forget the past. These differences are going to remain. Okay, now if there's an area, if there's a place where we can have a civilized academic dialogue, yes, we should have them, but not the way it's being done, where we are fighting day in, day out and forgetting the actual problems of the Ummah. Yeah. So this is what Imam is teaching. And this is a message to the Shias who believe, people like me were the Shias of Ali alayhi salam. Ali, I believe, the way I had mentioned before, that when we're reading the verses of the Quran, I said, I don't know, we are reading the right Quran or we are reading the wrong Quran. The Quran is inviting us to unity and we're disuniting and happy. Now, when it comes to Ali alayhi salam also, I don't know, are we following the same Ali or are we following some other Ali? I don't know. The same Ali for the Sunnis is one of the best, if not the best Sahaba. He's the Khulafa al-Rashidun. Okay, he's one of them. He's one of the Ashra Mubashara. How much do we want now to show us? How much history should show us that we need to unite? Okay. Now, strangely, you will notice that some scholars couldn't handle this, and this shows you the background and the presumptions we have with us, yeah? That we become the teachers now of Imam Ali alayhi salam, as if Imam didn't know of all this. We go and tell the Imam. So this is one of the scholars, Bahj al-Sabagha, the commentator of Nahj al-Balagha. He says, وَيُقَالْ لِأَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It can be said to Ali alayhi salam, oh, he didn't know about it, that you want to tell him now? Okay, this is where it reaches. We become holier than the Pope himself, yeah? So it says it can be told to Imam Ali alayhi salam that yes, we accept that what you're talking about, the calamity, is referring to Muawiyah. But who brought Muawiyah into this position? Can you see? It wants to go back to previous problems and previous differences. Okay, now as if Imam didn't know of those differences. These disputes were there. Imam knew of them. Okay, but he knows what the step he is taking. This is example number 2. Example number 3 is letter number 62 in Nahjul Balagha. Okay, where Imam talks about again, he talks about the past. You will see this theme repeating. He says, I didn't expect that the people would abandon us, Banu Hashim, and leave and give Khilafah to somebody else. This is something which Imam keeps on talking about, that I was more deserving, I was more capable, and rather deserving for the Khilafah. Then he says, but I saw Islam and the disunity within the Muslims and the dangers, and I decided to give in and save Islam. Okay, so this is the whole khutbah, and then he talks about Muawiyah and all whatnot. Now, the context is important. This context is not there in Nahj al-Balagha. The commentators of Nahj al-Balagha and Sayyid ibn Tawus in his Kashf al-Mahajja give this context. The context is like this. The letter was written. When was it written? So notice now. Okay, the killing of Malik Ashtar is done. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr is killed also, and now this person now is coming and questioning about the previous caliphs, Abu Bakr and Umar. Okay, in such a situation, he's coming to ask Imam about what happened previously. Now look at the statements. These are the statements of the scholars giving you the context of these statements. Okay, this is where the Imam wrote this letter, and he says it has to be read to everybody. It has to be read to everybody. فَغَضِبَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ. Notice the words of the riwayah. Imam got angry by this question. He tells him that قَدْ تَفَرَّغْتُمْ لِلسُّعَالِ عَمَّا لَا يَعْنِيكُمْ. Okay, have you made time to ask things which don't concern you? Look at the Imam, wallahi, alayhi salam. Okay, the differences were there, but now it's not the time now. Okay, to discuss these differences. Forget the past. Focus on the present. Okay, Egypt is being taken away by Muawiyah and is looting it all together. Then Imam goes on saying that such a calamity. Okay, فَيَا لَهَا مِن مُصِيبَةٍ مَا أَعْظَمَهَا بِمُصِيبَةِ بِمُحَمَّدٍ. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Okay, such a great calamity that Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr has been killed. And you're reminding me of things which don't concern you at all. He was my son. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was my son. Okay, this is the Imam, and this is the understanding of the Imam. So these were three examples. We can come up with more examples, but I suffice with these three. The second part which I want to focus on is the unity. How much unity was important to Imam Ali alayhi salam than everything. Okay, then his own khilafah also, then his own leadership. Okay, so this is now letter number 78. This letter was written to Abu Musa Ash'ari when the arbitration was supposed to happen. Okay, from the side of the Imam, Abu Musa Ash'ari was supposed to be the arbitrator. Imam writes him this letter advising him that Abu Musa, don't lose haqq. Okay, be with the truth, not that Muawiyah should tempt you somewhere else. Okay, and God forbid that's the same thing which ended up happening. Yeah, okay. But notice Imam the way he mentions. Okay, this is the context and this is the sermon. This is the letter which Imam writes. Now Imam tells them that I treat the wound. So every time I treat a wound, something else comes up. A war comes up. A problem comes up. And I treat this, and something else is coming up. Yeah, and that's what the period of Imam's khilafah was. Wallahi, he went through a lot. He went through a lot. Now, the statement I'm interested in is here. وَلَيْسَ رَجُلٌ. Okay, you know this, Abu Musa, know this, that when you're going towards the arbitration, there is no person, okay, who is more concerned about the unity and affection amongst the ummah of the Prophet than myself. Sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Okay, there's nobody who is interested in unity more than me. Okay, so whenever you're going there, think of unity and uniting the ummah. You get me? This is the understanding Imam had. And notice, then he, he says that because why? I seek Allah's reward and pleasure in this. And Allah's pleasure is in unity. But we, God forbid, have gone somewhere else. Similar understanding in letter number, in sermon number 71 or 74, depending on the version you are referring to. This statement, again, Imam gives the sermon after Uthman was chosen. So after the council of the 6 people, when the third caliph is chosen, notice Imam refers back again that he's more deserving. This is something, as I said, it's a theme you will get everywhere. So he says, yes, you people know that I'm the most deserving. There's nobody else more deserving than myself. You know this. Okay? But wallahi, this is Ali, wallahi. By God, I will concede and I will continue to give in as long as the concerns of the Muslims remain unharmed. And the injustice is only directed to me. So as long as it's only me suffering, no problem. I will suffer it for the sake of the ummah. This is Ali alayhi salam. And where are we? I don't know. And again, Imam refers back, I do so in the hope of God's reward and recompense. Allah gives reward. And that is why, if you remember, when we were talking about those verses, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا. Okay? Allah comes and says that don't fight, you will fail. Fightings and disputes bring this hatred, but Allah then ends up by saying, وَاصْبِرُوا. These disputes require sabr. And Ali alayhi salam is displaying that sabr. And that's exactly what he's teaching us. Yes, we have disputes. These disputes are going to remain. But we have to have sabr and go forward, not look behind. Okay, so that's number two, importance of unity in the words of Ali alayhi salam. Come to the fourth Imam alayhi salam and look at how he describes the rights of a fellow Muslim. And look at ourselves. Wallahi, when I look at it myself also, I cry that we are far away from this description. Far away from this description, wallahi. That he says, حق أهل ملتك, okay? The haqq and the right of the people of your creed, that is the Muslims. Look at how you should treat them, okay? Treat them, give them safety. Be compassionate towards them. Rather, show them kindness towards even the evil doer. That's what the Quran talks about, yeah? idfa' billati hiya ahsan. When somebody does evil to you, give him back the good. What do we do today? We don't only do good, we do evil, we do 10 times evil because it doesn't belong to my group. Now, strangely, the explanation some scholars will give is this: idfa' billati hiya ahsan. These ayats and these verses have been abrogated. Strange, very strange. Can you see the understanding? That, oh, they've been abrogated with the verses of jihad. So now you need to fight. Now there's no goodness. I don't know. This is the Islam. And where is the Islam of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam? Yeah. Treat them with friendliness and seeking their well-being. Okay. Thanking their good doer and keeping harm away from them also. If it doesn't belong to my group, ya Allah, what do we do with them? Oh, God knows. Now it's gone even within the group also. Somebody I defer with, God forbid, what we can do with our own people. Yeah. Okay. Imam then goes on further to say that you should love for them what you love for yourself. You dislike for them what you dislike for them. Are we seeing this Islam today? I don't know. I'm not seeing it anywhere. Okay. The old people are in the place of your fathers. Their children are your children. Their mothers are their women are your mothers. Okay. Their youth are your brothers. I don't see this Islam anymore, wallahi. Allah help us to reach there. This is number three. Number four, this is another area of collaboration which happened in history, which I believe it's a very beautiful area of collaboration. If we can revive the sunnah again, it's one of the best sunnahs, wallahi, to be able to pray together. The masjid is one place where hearts are aligned. They're soft, okay? You can come and cooperate. Unfortunately, Sunnis are not invited in Shia mosques. Shias are not invited in Sunni mosques. You go in each other's mosques today, you feel uncomfortable at times. People look at each other, as if who has come here? Okay, we need to revive the sunnah of visiting each other's mosques. Yes, we have our own mosques, but we should be regularly visiting each other's mosques. And anybody who visits others' mosques will be called and branded. Oh, he's becoming a Shia. He's becoming a Sunni now. I remember Malim Qasmali, wallahi, Allah raise his station in Jannah. I keep on remembering this man. This man reminds me, whenever you used to meet him, I met him very few times. He was our teacher, but we didn't understand him. But when I came back to Iran and then I met him, he used to remind you of God. Such a simple man. Sorry, I'm having these glitches at times. Okay, so I was talking about praying in the mosques. So the one I was talking about was Malim Qasmali. He was a teacher, and I thought I should remember this teacher. Uh, he used to be somebody who used to pray in the mosques of other Muslims to that level that the other Muslim brothers would consider them of his own. Okay, that is where. But unfortunately, some of them ended up branding him as a Sunni, and I don't know what. This was what I was talking about. That when you go pray in other people's mosques, you get branded, you get labeled, and God forbid what happens. And look at what the Imams are teaching us. Okay, now I'm quoting these riwayats. These riwayats are in books of Sheikh Saduq and Kulaini and Sheikh Tusi and all. I'm quoting it from Ajul Nasr Makarim Shiraz's Al Qawaid Al Fiqhiyah. The reason is because he has compiled them together, and the conclusion is what I'm interested in. So look at what he narrates. He says the riwayah is from Sheikh Saduq and the same riwayah from Sheikh Kulaini also. He says, whoever prays with them, notice, as a Shia, whoever he's telling his companion, whoever prays with the Sunnis and the Muslims in the first row, notice there's no issue of furada here, okay? This is jama'ah, and we'll show some scholars have understood the same way. Pray jama'ah with them is like the one who has prayed behind the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa in the first row. You see the fadila and the merit of how much it is good to unite with each other. Okay? Or rather, Imam tells Ishaq ibn Ammar that, oh Ishaq, do you pray with them in the mosque? That means visit their mosques. And Ishaq says, yes, I visit their mosque. So Imam then insists again, pray with them. Because praying with them in the first row, it's as if you are fighting in the way of Allah. You see the reward where and where it goes, yeah? So the same Imams would then tell the companions, go in there, attend their funerals, go and visit their sick. This is what Imams were teaching. Okay? And some of the companions were practicing this. But unfortunately, it's gone to the Sunnah. Okay? Now, look at what what Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi understands. Ayatollah Makarim comments on these riwayahs, says that you understand recommendation, the istihbab of praying behind them. with the intention of following them. Jama'ah, not furada, jama'ah. Notice, ma'aniyyat al-iqtida bihim. You're going to follow them. Okay? Similarly, the apparent meaning, the meaning of the hadith indicates the permissibility of sufficing with such a prayer and not requiring to repeat the salah. This notion that if you pray behind somebody you differ with, you need to pray again, or I don't know where is this. These are the teachings of the Imams alayhi salam. Okay, then he goes further and talking about the same things. Sheikh Tusi in his Istibsar goes further. Okay, he says that Zurara, he quotes from Zurara. Zurara is quoting from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Okay, he says Hathana Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. The sixth Imam would urge us so strongly to attend the Friday prayer. Okay, so we thought he's telling us that we should go to him and pray with him. Okay, look at the understanding. It shows you that Zurara had some kind of understanding, as we'll see in the next hadith also, that you should be with the Imam and not attend the congregation of the Muslims. So Imam turns back and says, no, okay, I meant perform it where you are. That means perform it with the Muslims where you are. Be with them, pray with them. Okay, rather Imam Baqir alayhi salam tells Zurara that you would perish. Okay, you would get destroyed if you don't perform this faridah. And how much do we ignore this faridah? Wallahi, I don't know. This wajib and this act of Allah, which Allah has made it wajib. Imam is saying if you don't perform this, Allah will punish you. So Zurara turns back and says, but what is it? He says, Imam replied to me, pray in congregation with them. And in congregation, Jum'ah, not only Jama'ah, but Jum'ah. Okay? These riwayats are talking about Jum'ah. The first one was talking about Jama'ah, now about Jum'ah. Okay? And that is why some scholars and some researchers, so this is a researcher in this topic, Ali Agha Noori, is a very good researcher on these topics of between sects and all whatnot. Now, he quotes this in his book. He says that we have these riwayats, and he quotes the references of these riwayats also, that Imam Ali alayhi salam used to pray behind the Khulafa. Okay, these riwayats are there in our books also. So this scholar understands it by saying that he used to go and actively pray behind them. Now, the difference is here. Some scholars say that Imam was doing taqiyya for almost 25 years and praying with taqiyya. So this researcher and this scholar asks and he says, what kind of taqiyya for 25 years? Okay, if there was taqiyya, then Imam would have kept quiet. But from all the sermons we quoted and plenty of examples where Imam spoke, when he wanted, he spoke against the caliphs. He told them that he was more deserving. He was more, better than them. Something which he was telling them. If he was doing taqiyya, then he would have kept quiet altogether. Okay, this is the reasoning of this scholar. Rather, Sayyid Sharafuddin, rahmatullah alayh, the author of the famous book Al-Muraja'at. Now, inshallah, if we go sometime later, we can discuss this. You will see this difference of opinion within the scholars who live. Now, this is something even Shaykh Mutahari discusses it a lot. Inshallah, if we get time, we can discuss this. The difference of opinion and the fatwas differ. Scholars will live in a multicultural cities, and those scholars will live in a Shia predominated or Sunni predominated cities. Okay, you will see the fatwas and the understandings differ. Okay, now Sayyid Sharafuddin was a scholar who lived in Lebanon, and that is why you will see the understanding of the scholars of Lebanon very much pro-unity, pro-collaboration, as opposed to some of the scholars living in some other cities. Yeah. Now, I don't want to say right or wrong or whatever. That is, I'm just trying to show you where the differences are coming up from. Notice it says, Hasha Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, an yusalli illa taqarruban lillah. Okay? It's far be it from Ali alayhi salam that he should pray out of taqiyya and I don't know, out of fear. Rather, he was praying behind the caliphs for the sake of God and getting closer to God. Okay? And he says, because of this, we follow his example. Thus, we seek closeness to Allah by praying behind many of the Sunni congregation leaders, sincerely dedicating those prayers to Allah. We pray behind them sincerely. Okay, we are not doing it for the sake of showing off, as some would say that oh, taqiyya and this and that. No, some scholars' understanding is like this. Okay, and this is an humble understanding I'm sharing with some of my Sunni brothers, that not every Shia is doing taqiyya. No, okay, some Shia's understanding is like that. They've understood the texts differently, as opposed to some others who keep on promoting taqiyya. Okay, and that's the version they're promoting. We respect that understanding, but we disagree with that. Okay. Now, Imam Khomeini also gives the same fatwa. Also, when he was asked, praying behind the Sunnis, how do we pray? With the intention of Jama'ah or no? He says, no, you pray like every other congregational prayer. You make the niyyah of following them in Jama'ah and congregational prayer. Okay, this is how some scholars understood. This is number 4. And finally, academic exchanges and cooperation. Now, I didn't find many examples for this, But this was an interesting example, and this is an area which I personally believe there's a lot of potential here to share between Shias and Sunnis. Now, this is an example. Allama Dhahabi, the famous muhaddith within the Sunni world, in his Tarikh al-Islam. Now, he's known as a muhaddith, not as a muarrikh. But he wrote this book, Tarikh al-Islam. He quotes this incident there. The Rawi quotes it from, he says, Sami'atu Abu Hanifa. I heard Imam Abu Hanifa saying, when Imam Abu Hanifa was asked, Man afqah man ra'ayt? Who is the most knowledgeable you saw and you have seen? Okay, so he turns back and says that ما رأيت أحدا أفقه من جعفر عليه السلام. I've not seen anybody more knowledgeable than Ja'far, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Now what happened? So after that, this incident happens that Mansour Dawaniqi, as a politician, that's what they want, yeah, to create differences and to create ikhtilaf. That's what they enjoy in, unfortunately. So Mansour Dawaniqi now summons Imam Abu Hanifa and tells him that people are getting captivated by the knowledge of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Come, I want you to ask the most hard questions to Imam Sadiq, and let's see if he can reply. So this is Abu Hanifa now. Imam Abu Hanifa says, when I entered, I saw Ja'far alayhi salam seated on the right, and as soon as I saw them, I felt a reverence for Ja'far alayhi salam, greater than what I felt for Mansour. Okay? So then he starts asking him the questions. Now the questions are not mentioned. The 40 questions they say he asked. So he says, Abu Hanifa himself says that I began to ask each question, and for each question he would say, you Abu Hanifa say this, that means the people of Iraq, and you Abu Hanifa say this, the people of Medina say this, okay, and then we the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, this is our understanding, okay, and then sometimes he agreed with us, sometimes he agreed with the people of Medina, and sometimes he differed with both of us. Okay, now before I finish, just a tangent here. There are those people who are trying to promote, especially those who want to follow the madhab of Imam Malik, and some I've seen those who are promoting the ijma' of Ahlul Medina. Okay, notice this is something Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is totally refuting. Okay, there's nothing like ijma' of Ahlul Medina. Notice Imam alayhi salam was living in Medina and he's differing with the Ahlul Medina. Okay, now yes, the places where he is with them. Okay, his understanding also corresponds with their understanding, but the places where it differs with them. So to come and say that the Ahlul Medina are the criteria for the truth, as some are promoting, and the ijma' of Ahlul Medina and all, no, this is not something which is Imam Sadiq is showing. He's showing that he doesn't accept this understanding. Okay, and then Abu Hanifa goes on praising Imam again. That have I not said that the most knowledgeable of the people is the one who knows the differences between the opinions? Okay, so he's again praising Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Okay, so this was, in conclusion, this was the collaboration in the first 3 centuries. I just wanted to give a few examples to show that collaboration has happened. Okay, now I didn't quote a lot from Sunni books, and I leave it for some Sunni scholars and researchers to come and present their research and come and tell us that no, it's possible even to cooperate with the Shias also. Okay, so let's come together, cooperate together, work together for the sake of the Ummah. As Imam Ali alayhi salam showed us that past is past. Yes, differences were there, disputes were there, but the current issues are more pressing. Let's focus on them. Okay, and anybody who wants to take us to the past and make us fight over the past, let's leave him. Okay, he doesn't want khair for the Ummah. The Ummah wants something more better. Okay, let's again pray to Allah to be able to unite our hearts and make us follow the sunnah of the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.